目由美国加州奥克兰市英记10家赞助播出，地址：奥克兰市第9街387号，订餐电话510-465-1888。
However, when you start to add more than one camera, it can really add up in cost. However, when you start to add more than one camera, it can... However, when you start to add more... However, when you start to add more than one camera, it can really add up in cost, especially as some companies charge a monthly fee to get full functionality. But did you know that it's possible to make a multi-camera setup for hardly any money at all? Well, you can, and that's what we are going to be doing in this video. So what we're going to be doing is using old laptop webcams. Now these are extremely tiny, as you can see, so they're really easy to make discreet so they aren't noticeable, and they're also very cheap to buy. You can buy them either separately, or you could retrieve them from old, dead or smashed up laptops like this one. So I'm just going to be going through the different ways you can acquire these first, and then I'll be showing you how to wire them up to get full functionality. But first, a message from this video's sponsor, NordVPN. Now, a VPN is a virtual private network and essentially gives you an encrypted pathway to the internet, adding another level of security to keep your online activity safe from being intercepted by hackers, which is particularly important for public Wi-Fi. As it routes your connection through one of their super-fast secure servers, of which there are thousands in many different countries, you can bypass IPS blocks by appearing to be in a completely different geographical location, which is also a great way of viewing content that is region-limited. To get a whopping 66% off a 2-year plan, visit nordvpn.com/DIYperks or click the link in the description and use the offer code DIYperks to sign up and get your internet secure today. So again, that's nordvpn.com/DIYperks with the offer code DIYperks. So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the ways you can acquire these webcams is to remove them from old, dead laptops. This is fairly simple to do, as it usually only requires the screen bezel to be removed by undoing several screws around it, exposing the webcam itself. This can be carefully lifted out, and the cable it's plugged into is something we'll need too, so to remove it without disassembling the laptop further, we can just cut it off with enough wiring left to solder to later. So removing these from dead laptops is a great way to get them for free, as often they would just be thrown away. But another super way to get your hands on them is to simply buy them online. You see, plenty of laptop recycling centres strip laptops down to their bare components and then sell them as spare parts on eBay. There are literally thousands of listings for laptop webcams, and it's possible to get them for as little as $1.50 posted, which is excellent value. Though make sure that you buy them with the connecting cable wire, as it will make connecting them much easier. So once you have a few of them, it's time to wire them up, which is thankfully quite easy as they use the USB protocol, so it can be wired up to any old USB cable. Depending on where you want to mount the final cameras, you may need to solder them to some fairly long ones, with 5 meters being the maximum length coming straight from the webcam. You can extend things further though using a cheap USB repeater, which should allow you to get runs of up to 30 meters. Once you have your cables, chopping off the end and exposing the wires inside reveals 4 of them, 2 of which are for power, with the other 2 being for data, and they're almost always colour coordinated. The webcams themselves, however, don't follow any particular colour scheme, so we'll have to work out what each wire is manually using a multimeter on beeper mode. The easiest one to work out is the ground connection, as there are almost always screw holes that are ringed with copper that go to ground. With the multimeter touching one of these holes, we can test each of the wires to find out which it's connected to. Nope. Nope. That's the one. So this is the ground. This is very consistent between webcam boards, so you shouldn't have any problems finding it. Now, there's another common characteristic with the wiring that makes finding the data connections easy. Can you see it? That's right, they each have a twisted pair of wires, which are always the data connection, as that's how USB cables reduce interference, among other things, on the data lines. There's no way of knowing which of the data connections is positive and which is negative, so you'll need to take a guess. If a USB device not recognised error gets thrown up, just swap them around and it should correct itself. So the last wire to find is the positive connection, and a relatively reliable way of discovering which one it is to look for a small transistor-like component on the board, which is actually a power regulator. It might be anywhere, and there may be more than one. In any case, test each of its contacts to find which one connects directly to one of the outbound wires, as this will be the positive connection. One of the contacts will also connect directly to ground, so don't get confused and test it more than once. So if all goes well, you can plug them straight into a computer, which will then install the webcam drivers, and then they can be used as a standard digital video input. Nice. As the webcams are so small, it's possible to mount them almost anywhere with the help of some sugrue, which is a putty that sets as hard as rubber. Just make sure you don't cover the lens itself with the stuff. I put some blue tack over mine and then pulled it off once I'd finished moulding the sugrue to keep it clean. This is a great way of securing them to a wall or a corner against the ceiling, and once set it's really discreet and you're very unlikely to notice them. Another benefit of this is that they are really hard to vandalise, as you can't get your hands around them to pull them off or hit them if they're in a corner. Once you have a few around your home, you can route the wires to a central location, using USB repeaters if required, after which it's time to work on the central control hub. For this we'll need an old but otherwise functioning laptop. It really doesn't need to be anything special, even this 12-year-old Dell is plenty powerful enough for the job, and you can even get away with something like this 20-year-old Toshiba if you only went with a couple of camera feeds. Either way, setting it up is really easy. All we need to do is plug the cameras into the USB ports and install ContaCam, which is a free piece of video surveillance software. This allows you to add your cameras, after which you can record the feed, set up timers or motion-activated email alerts, online backups and access, among other things. Unfortunately, adding a third USB-based camera is unlikely to work due to driver and bandwidth limitations. But there is thankfully an easy way around this by adding another root USB controller. You see, old laptops like this usually have expansion card slots, allowing you to plug in a variety of add-in cards. This one adds 2 more USB ports, but not like a standard USB hub that runs off the PC's own root hub, but instead adds another root hub controller, doubling the available bandwidth. With one of these installed, it allows another 2 cameras to be added, which is a very respectable setup for most situations. Using an old Fujitsu, I even managed to get 6 cameras going at once, as it not only had an expansion card slot like the Dell, but it also had 2 root USB controllers inside, one of which was dedicated to the original webcam, so was easy to access by soldering a USB port to the old webcam cable. It can now be deployed in your chosen location. I put mine in a cupboard above a door, and once the lid was closed, you just wouldn't know it was there. As it has a built-in battery as well, it's even got a few hours of power redundancy, which is excellent if the power ever gets cut, and is a feature available only on really expensive security systems. As you can see, the feed too is surprisingly sharp, and can provide excellent coverage of a home. Not bad at all, considering that this setup cost a fraction of something bought, and allows for a lot of flexibility as to how you set it up to meet your own personal requirements. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you have fun making your own home security setup on a budget. Don't forget to check out NordVPN as well if you want to secure your internet. But other than that, I'm Matt, you've been watching DIY Perks, and I really hope I see you next time. Bye for now.
我们始终不扮高深，我们力求直播传真。